All right, let's dive in. We're about to unpack a story that honestly feels more like a high-stakes political thriller than ancient history. I'm talking about the complete story of Esther. Just picture this. You've got a young woman, someone you'd think is powerless, who suddenly gets thrown into the very center of a royal court. And she's forced to make a choice that could either save her entire people or, well, lead to their complete destruction. So that really gets us to the heart of it, right? The big question is this. How on earth did one woman, an orphan no less, in a totally foreign land, manage to navigate the treacherous world of imperial politics? How did she not only become a queen, but also find the sheer courage to challenge an entire empire, to save her people from being completely wiped out? Well, let's find out together. Okay, so our story kicks off with a totally unexpected rise to power. You see, Esther's journey to becoming queen, it wasn't some grand, calculated plan, not at all. It was really a twist of fate that started a domino effect, a chain of events that would end up threatening the very existence of her people. So, let's set the stage. We're talking about the heart of the massive Persian Empire. The ruler is King Ahasuerus. You might also know him as Xerxes, and his kingdom was just immense, stretching all the way from what we now call India to Ethiopia. I mean, in the ancient world, this was it. This was the absolute epicenter of power. And the whole story really gets kicked off with some serious political drama. So Queen Vashti, she publicly defies the king and gets dramatically thrown out, which creates this sudden, massive power vacuum. What does the king do? He launches a kingdom-wide search for a brand new queen. And it's during this giant empire-spanning beauty contest that Esther, a Jewish orphan who was raised by her cousin Mordecai, gets brought into the royal court. Now, out of all the young women brought to the palace, it's Esther who completely captivates the king. I mean, he is so taken with her that he crowns her the new Queen of Persia right then and there. But, and this is a big but, she's carrying a huge secret. On the advice of her cousin Mordecai, she completely hides her Jewish heritage. And this one secret, this hidden identity, is about to become a literal matter of life and death. And here's where things take a really dark turn. This is where we get to Haman's vile plot. We're about to meet the story's villain, a man whose ambition is, frankly, only matched by his deep, deep prejudice. So, let me introduce you to Haman. The king promotes this guy, elevates him to the highest position in the entire empire. We're talking second in command, just under the king himself. And the king orders that all other officials have to bow down before him. You know, sometimes it just takes one single act of defiance to ignite a total catastrophe. And this is that moment. The king has decreed that everyone bows to Haman, but Mordecai, Esther's cousin, he refuses, flat out. As a Jew, he believes his allegiance is to God and God alone, and he's not about to bow to any man. And this simple act of conscience, it absolutely infuriates the incredibly arrogant Haman. But Haman's rage, it doesn't just stop with Mordecai. Oh no, it explodes into this genocidal vendetta against every single Jewish person. He's so clever, he skillfully manipulates the king and convinces him to sign a decree, one that can't be revoked, to exterminate all Jews in the empire on one single day. When Mordecai finds out about this horrifying plot, he sends a desperate plea to Esther. She is literally their only hope. And this right here, this is the turning point of the entire story. Esther is now faced with a decision that's not only going to define her, but it will decide the fate of her entire people. She has to risk absolutely everything. Now, we have to be really clear about what Mordecai is asking. This is no simple request. The law of the Persian court was absolute. If you approach the king without being summoned, it's a death sentence, period. The only way you survive is if he decides to show you mercy and extend his golden scepter. And to make things even more dangerous, Esther hasn't even been called to see the king for a whole month, which is a really bad sign. It might mean she's fallen out of favor. So facing this deadly reality, she makes a request of her own. She tells Mordecai to gather all the Jews and to fast and pray with her for 3 days and 3 nights. After those 3 days of fasting and prayer, something inside Esther just clicks. She reaches this point of incredible resolve, and she says those famous, chilling words, "If I perish, I perish." And you have to understand, this isn't her giving up. It's not a statement of despair. It's a declaration of immense courage. It's her fully accepting the ultimate risk, all for the sake of her people. So she does it. She takes that fateful walk. She goes into the king's inner court, totally uninvited, and you can just imagine the tension in that moment. The king sees her, but instead of rage, he shows her favor. He extends the golden scepter, and just like that, her life is spared. But she doesn't blurt out her request, not yet. Instead, she plays it smart. She uses this clever strategy and invites the king and, this is crucial, Haman to a private banquet. The single decision, this invitation, sets the stage for the complete takedown of Haman's plot. What happens next is just a masterclass in strategy, and it leads to a stunning, absolutely ironic reversal of fortune. Esther's plan unfolds so patiently. At that first banquet, she still doesn't reveal her true request. Instead, she just invites the king and Haman to another banquet the next day. Now, that very night, something incredible happens, a real twist of fate. The king can't sleep, so he has the royal records read to him. And what does he hear? He's reminded that Mordecai once saved his life from an assassination plot and was never even rewarded for it. So at that second banquet, with the stage now perfectly set, Esther finally drops the bombshell. She reveals she's Jewish and exposes Haman's entire plot to kill her and her people. I mean, can you just imagine the shock in that room? The king suddenly realizes that his most trusted advisor has completely tricked him. He signed a death warrant for his own wife, the queen, and her entire people. And just to give you a sense of Haman's insane arrogance, get this. That very same day, he had ordered the construction of a massive gallows. We're talking 50 cubits. That's about 75 feet high. And its one and only purpose? To hang his nemesis Mordecai. Well, in a moment of what you can only call perfect poetic justice, the enraged king orders Haman to be executed on the very gallows that he himself had prepared for Mordecai. The schemer gets caught in his own trap. It's unbelievable. But wait, the story isn't over yet. Haman's downfall isn't the end. The fall of the villain actually leads to the rise of a hero, and ultimately the creation of a lasting tradition that celebrates this incredible story of deliverance and victory. So with Haman gone, the king promotes Mordecai, giving him Haman's old job. But there's still a huge problem. That original decree, the one to annihilate the Jews, under Persian law, it can't be revoked. It's set in stone. They desperately need a new plan. So, working with Esther and Mordecai, the king comes up with a brilliant workaround. He issues a new decree. Now, it doesn't cancel the first one, it can't, but it does something just as powerful. It gives the Jews the legal right to assemble and to defend themselves against anyone who might try to attack them on that day. It basically turns a day that was meant for destruction into a day of self-defense. And the lasting legacy of this incredible turn of events is the festival we know as Purim. Mordecai established it to celebrate that amazing day when their deep sorrow was turned into joy and their mourning was turned into a huge celebration. And it's a festival that's still celebrated by Jewish communities all over the world to this very day. So that leaves us with this final thought, right? In a world that's still full of power plays and hidden dangers, Esther's story is this incredible reminder that the courage and, the strategic thinking of just one person can genuinely change the course of history. And it really poses a question for every single one of us. What does her courage tell us today about our own responsibility when we're faced with injustice? Something to think about.